Welcome to CATA TV. It's our first video on demand series, and we're going to be joined by Dr. Russ Roberts, who's CATA's Senior Vice President of Tax and Finance. And Russ has created for us a very interesting educational video. The first part deals with the SR&ED program, some critical updates that you should be aware of. And the second part deals with a new tool being introduced by the Canada Revenue Agency called the self-assessment tool. Russ will take us through the different parts of that tool and really give us some guidance, hints, and tips on how to work your way through some of the questions.
Today we're going to be talking about a new self-assessment tool for determining or identifying when a company has potential eligibility for Canada's SR&ED tax credit program. As a caveat, CRA stresses that whether or not you get a positive answer, it's the facts that really matter. You need to be able to demonstrate what occurred and that there truly was an advancement in your technologies or scientific knowledge. The first question they have in the test is very simple, and almost any firm in Canada that's conducting business in Canada is going to meet it. Are you carrying on a business in Canada? To use the credits, you need to be a Canadian taxable entity. The second question focuses on whether the project you're looking at fits in to your business, what it normally conducts as business. This is actually not a difficult question and is normally met by all companies. Whether you're expanding your business or working in your normal domains of products and processes that you sell, doesn't matter. So the key point here is that you're conducting a business in Canada and that it fits into your business's construct. Question number 3 focuses on where the work is performed. The way the legislation is developed, it expects that you at least have some elements of the core project here in Canada. The leadership, in part at least, you can do partnership work with companies in other countries, but they expect you to contribute to the design, the intellectual oversight of the project, and to provide leadership in Canada. Besides that, though, you can do some work outside the country that relates to projects that are performed and centered in Canada. Question 4 focuses on the type of work that engineers might be doing that would be not considered SR&ED. The difficulty here is that it is not the title that you put on the work or the group that the engineers or the scientists are working in that matters. It is the relationship between the work they perform and the projects themselves that matters. For example, market research, a group that's doing market research or sales, maybe, as part of their work, have to focus on providing technological specifications, developing them, the details that are needed to come up with the actual concept for the technology. Sometimes that can be claimed, sometimes not. Question 5 focuses on understanding whether or not your project is dominantly in the domain of science or experimental development. Experimental development occurs when you are trying to improve your products or processes. In the IT sector, work commonly occurs actually in the computer science area and also in the experimental development side of the story. Normally in this sector, a focus on experimental development is appropriate. You're able to demonstrate that what you have developed is an improvement in the technologies, in other words, in the capability to come up with new products and processes that perform better and have greater functionality where you were not able to do so before. Question 6 now focuses on the technology side of the story, as we mentioned. The first question we have in a series of questions related to that is question 6. It asks whether you're trying to achieve a technological advancement. Well, the key here is whether you are able to explain what were your base level capabilities to come up with products with a given functionality and performance. When you're able to show that under normal conditions, your engineers, your developers, and other developers that you might talk with do not understand how to come up with that functionality or that performance, and had to come up with new ways of solving those problems, which were not understood to work, then you probably or likely historically have had claims for those types of projects. CRA has created a new term called a technological obstacle. The question here for CRA is whether you have basically exhausted the known methods that might be applied as a solution. If the answer to this question is yes, and you have to look for what would be maybe a eureka solution, then the odds are very high that you have a project. On the other hand, you will note by our discussion that we just had about what is an advancement, the work on how to achieve performance, how to achieve functionality when it was not understood previously, has certainly been eligible when you could demonstrate the significance of it. This is covered in the various policies that CRA has issued, and specifically the key criterion here is that you are able to meet the criterion of technological uncertainty in Information Circular IC 86-4. We have been assured by CRA that these concepts still apply. I will note, though, that the idea around the technological uncertainty is that, yes, you're able to explain that you have a fundamental problem, a fundamental issue which you have to find out how to solve a problem, but you have to be able also to explain why this is a significant advancement in design practices, for example. Question 8 focuses on whether or not you have conducted a systematic investigation. Most of you are engineers, or you're scientists, or computer specialists. You're trained in following a systematic process, so frankly, most of you are doing so. The real difficulty for you is going to be if you have a claim and you cannot show that you did this. CRA needs to understand the process that you followed. They need to understand the concept stage of the story. They need to understand why you've gone beyond what you knew how to do or thought might work, like we've explained. And they need to understand the type of problems you encountered and the various ways you tried to solve them. If you have no documentation, and you can't demonstrate what happened, you really probably need to talk to CRA or professionals in developing claims, because it is very important that you be able to show them what happened. So now you've answered the appropriate questions correctly. What does CRA say to you? The answer is, they will explain in the next question, which really isn't a question, but is their answer, that you probably have SR&ED projects available to you.